Hey y'all, it's Cher and
Dawn.
And welcome back to the Chattermouth Podcast. So today on our podcast, we have Valentina here, who is a psychic medium, and I am literally so excited to speak with her because, as you all know, this is like our favorite topic ever.
We love this. It's right up our alley.
And I have so many questions. So first of all, welcome to the episode.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Well, can you tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself and who you are, what you do? Fill us in.
Okay, I'll try to do the short version because. All right, so my name is Valentina, and I am a psychic medium. So for those that don't know, psychic is reading the living energy, and mediumship is connecting to those that have crossed over, and just being that voice for those people. And I am from Denmark, and I've lived all over Switzerland, Hawaii, LA, and now last 7 years over here in Florida.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Well,
So how did you feel how did you develop this psychic ability, or did you always feel you had this psychic ability and medium, be able to feel people that have passed? And
Good question. So we actually all have the ability. It's just that if everyone did it, then we would have no nurses or teachers, so some of us tap into it more because that is our calling and we have to help people with our gifts. So probably I'd say now it's like 33 years ago, I sustained a traumatic brain injury from a fall. And that seemed to have kicked in the abilities a lot more. And what I've learned, what I've learned is that talking to other psychics, they all seem to have had like either a near-death experience, a coma, something with the brain. So it seems to go hand in hand that even though we all have the gift, it kicks it into like overgear. So it's been over 33 years now that I've had the gift.
So prior to that, did you have any thoughts that you could be?
No. Prior to that, I was busy. I've been a model since I was 2. Wow. So I've always been busy doing that. I to me, a psychic was something maybe I'd heard about once or twice, but I never gave it any thought or, nothing until that accident. And then everything was like, I can feel things, I can hear things. I mean, everything kicked into overdrive.
Oh my gosh.
That's unbelievable.
So did something, while it happened, like, did you saw something, or like during that experience that right afterwards you started to just hear, or was it just like over time?
Oh, I see what you mean. No, because I mean, I was, from the injury, I was starting to slip into a coma and die. And so I was kind of busy, I guess, dying, if you will.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then I lost a lot of my senses and things like that, taste, temperature, all these sorts of things were going wrong. So I was so focused on that, and my mother was dragging me to all the doctors. They could find nothing wrong with me. And then I could hear like little wires in the walls, and I'm like, why can nobody else hear that? I start seeing things happen and coincidences, and then I started hugging people, and I'm like, this person's going to die from this. And
oh my God.
Really? So as things like that started happening, I was like, what is happening to me? How am I predicting deaths? And and I would just write things down in a book, and the book started filling up, with predictions, and I'm like, okay, this is more than coincidence now, because like the book is filling up, and I still don't know what's going on with me. So I continued for a long time to try to live a normal life, with all these things coming in, because I didn't know how to process the information. Right. Then in 2010, I went on the Queen Mary in Long Beach, and I did a paranormal investigation. And all the ghosts came forward and started telling me how they died. And I actually saw my first apparition walking down the hallway. And I was like, okay, something's going on here. Like, wow, everybody is attracted to me, all the dead people. So from there, I started my own investigation team, and I realized that the ghosts really are attracted to me, because ghosts are very shy, and so some of them will be around, but they don't want to interact, and they all wanted to interact with me. So so that was the beginning of like starting to get evidence and communicate with them. And then from there, the natural progression when my parents passed was just like I became obsessed with trying to talk to my mother and communicate, because we were so close, like you guys. And then I was like, man, I need to do this for other people. Like, that was the turning point where I was like, you know what? There must be other people hurting so much and wanting, their mother or father or whoever back, that I thought, you know what, I need to be that voice. And now I accept my gifts. I'm going to do it full time. No questions asked. This is my life now. So from that point on, it just became nonstop.
Wow. And so are you able to communicate with your mom now?
Yes, so we have, it's weird because when I was cleaning out her house after she passed, there was over 30 books from the 1970s about life after death, Bigfoot, UFOs, and I'm like, why did we not talk about this? I didn't know how much she was really into it. So my theory is that she was reading all that to prepare how to communicate when she passed. So we have our own little communication. She uses her birthday on the clock. Or I have a little light that she knows how to turn on. So she's really good with helping me, and she helps me during the readings as well. She gets the people for me. So we have, like, the mother-daughter relationship continues, but now it's on the other side.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Really beautiful. So, like, how do you actually channel into her? Like, does she come in like from a bird, like as a bird, or does she come in as a, like, how do you channel into what she's saying? Or
so she just talks in my head. It's either in my head or just right here. I call it my soul. So I'll hear a voice right here. But sometimes, it's very clear. She'll just joke around and she'll say something. And so it's communication that we use. She literally will just talk inside of me.
So you can hear her talk as
I
well.
can
It's not
hear
just
him.
through the light. Like, sometimes she'll turn it on, or
right. That's just like a little visual
right,
thing where
like,
she'll just be like, "Hey, I'm around," or she does the clock in her birthday, and I'll be like, "Oh, okay, hi, Mom, I love you too," and then I'll tell her, "All right, we're gonna do a reading. You ready?" And so then we get ready, and so the communication is actually talking.
So interesting. So, do you believe once someone passes, do they go on to somewhere else, or they stay here and they're around you just in a different way?
Okay, so here's what I've learned, and it's kind of tricky. If you die a natural death, let's say old age, accidents count as well, because maybe that was the time for the accident, so people die that way. Anything natural that you didn't do yourself, you will go straight up, okay? And it's a tunnel, and you will go up. If you took your own life or caused a cessation in your lifespan, I call it the box. You go over to a box for a bit before you get to go straight up. Like, straight up is recess. You did everything right. You're going to go up, and then you'll visit, and then you'll go back down again and reincarnate. But if you took your own life, you're going to be stuck in this box for a bit to go over why you did that. Okay? So it's not quite the reward first, It's more like, okay, why did you do that? Why did you give up? So,
and then when you come back down, you reincarnate, so you're not able to stay with your loved ones anymore? Or do you stay around them?
Well, so because we become energy never dies, but it can be reconverted. So from my understanding, when we die, we pick a new baby and we go back down again.
Within your family? Within the same family?
No. You will start over again. You might have been a girl and now you're going to be a boy.
But can it, within your family?
Yeah, the people that you loved, like, come back to the family that you loved?
No, you're going to go on to the next, because let's say you decide to be Chinese for the next one. Your family's not Chinese. So it'd be a little awkward. So who's this person at the table?
Do you get to choose when you come back?
Yeah, you can choose when you're ready. What I found is some people like to zip around and go, oh, hey, I don't have a body anymore. I can zip around. I can go to Jupiter or wherever. Other people, like, I really want to get back down here and I miss this human life, Right. So it depends the time frame when you're ready to come back down. But you will choose a new life and something different than before. So what I tell people, because I had yesterday a girl who lost her baby and had a lot of guilt. And I said, well, what's going to happen is this baby will come back as somebody else. You will probably pass at some time. You will look into each other's eyes and recognize each other, but that's it. Do not interfere. Do not say, you used to be my baby. You have to kind of just, pass like two ships, and then that's it. But you will know. You'll just feel it in your heart that this was my baby. Wow. And the baby will feel like this was my mother at some point.
Oh, I have chills from that.
It's crazy. Wow. I know. It's just, but you'll have that moment, and then that's it. Like I tell them, don't run up and say anything because they'll think you're crazy. But that person will come back, and in your lifetime, you will pass some time and see each other again.
Wow. That's amazing.
You know, my mom had passed a year ago, and at the beginning, felt like I was getting a lot of signs from her. Like the reason why I said a bird is because I had this all of a sudden this dove, literally a dove, sitting on my lanai and didn't move, and I went really close and still didn't fly away. And I said, "This is definitely her."
Yeah.
But now my dad just passed, and I don't really get the signs anymore. So I was wondering, like, does the signs eventually, do they end up because maybe they're happy because now they're together again, that they just moved on, or are they still around?
Okay, so let me break that apart there. So, one, they like to usually give a sign, especially if you're just wondering if they're okay. They'll send something as a sign, whether that's a butterfly. They like to use something that you're probably going to notice and comes into the picture. And some people get dreams, not really dreams, I call them dream visitations. And
I do, yeah.
Yeah. And so usually that will happen maybe once just to let you know, hey, I made it, I'm okay. If it happens again, then you're spoiled and you're getting special treatment. But normally that's just a one-time thing. Same with the sign, just to give you that okay. And then... yes, and they will join back up again too, as energy for a bit. And then from that point on, they will decide, hey, let's zip around together or let's reincarnate. There are choices, some people, it happens immediately. Other people take their time. Maybe they want to visit up there for a bit with everyone before they go down. Usually people go down because they miss, you can't have cheese and wine up there, So maybe you miss that. You want to come back and be human again, then you'll do that.
Wow, it's so interesting. Before you had asked a question, you had said something about how people might think you're crazy, something like that. But did you, when you first started getting these thoughts, did you ever think? Because I worked as a mental health nurse for a while, and I had people would come in, they would hear voices. It was like schizophrenia, and so they would hear voices and they get on medication. So did you ever think that maybe something's wrong with me? It's not just the voices, or did you always know that it actually was? The world, because I feel like if this happened to me, if all of a sudden I started hearing voices, I would question, am I having a mental break, or am I actually connecting to the outside world? And how do you differentiate that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, because I'm always very focused, I know what's my own thoughts and my own voices and things like that. And it's almost like for me, they come walking in. So here's me, and then something comes in, and I'm like, okay, I was just thinking about bread, and somebody's dog just popped in. So that's how I'm able to differentiate very, very easily. But then I started thinking, well, what if all the crazy people or people that hear voices are really a little bit more open, and maybe they are hearing voices, know, but they deem it medically, mentally unstable, because that's easier than sitting and saying, oh, this person in room blah 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 is psychic, So, but I would also have to say that maybe those voices, because if the voices are telling them to kill themselves and shoot up a school or something, God forbid, those are not psychic voices that are connected to the divine source. So there are low vibrational beings and voices that maybe are influencing these because they connect to that energy, because the low vibrational things need low vibrational things, and these people that aren't so mentally stable are easier for worse things to come in and talk to them. So I do believe they're being talked to by something other than their own mind. However, it's not, most of it's not good. It's coming from a different source.
Right. So interesting.
I know. It's crazy.
So wow. And so, is there a way to tap into it? Sometimes I feel like, I'll have some, like a dream that something is going to happen, and I could like that's happened before with her.
Yes.
I've had a dream and all of a sudden I called her up and told her, don't drive to this certain place, and she's like, I'm not going there. The next day she went there and she got in a car accident, and I had this dream was going to happen. And sometimes I'll have thoughts, and when I don't think about the thought, it happens. But if I think about the thought too hard, it doesn't happen. So I don't know how to tap into it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I would definitely, like I did with the book when I first started, whenever you get something that isn't your own thought, write it down. Put the date and the time, okay? Because you might find that there's different times and dates that you're more open, or, you know, and then put down when it happens. I found that I could only, when I was predicting deaths, I predicted a lot of celebrity deaths, and then I turned on the news. I'm like, oh my God, I was just thinking they were dead, and they weren't, and 3 days later they are. Oh. So then I started thinking I was killing all the celebrities. I'm like, I just thought about Patrick Swayze, and he's dead. Oh. And I was like, oh my God. So, but I realized that when I looked at the date that I'd written it down versus when it actually happened, it was like 3 days apart. So I knew I could only predict like out to 3 days. And I'm like, well, man, I need to predict further out to warn people, or, you know, something. 3 days is just not enough. So I was keeping a lot of things to myself, but just making notes to see. So for you, maybe see how far out you can predict things so that you can, you know, keep your mom and everyone safe by saying, hey, you know, I don't think today is a good day to go down this street or something.
Wow.
So a lot of it has to do with trusting.
Your instinct.
I had to put it on my arm because that's how much I need a reminder.
Wow.
But it's about not only trusting the information you're getting from the universe, but also trusting what you're picking up. Because a lot of it, if your mind is not all like completely a clean slate, you'll start doubting and wondering things. So you really have to just not keep your mind so busy so that if something does come, you know, don't drive today. Okay, I'm not going to drive. You know, and know that that's not what you were thinking when it came in.
Right.
So I think if you trust more, because you've shown now that, hey, Mom, don't do that. Okay, I wasn't crazy after all. So now you can listen a little more, and that's where that trust comes in now that, hey, you know, and that goes for anybody as well. If you got that intuition, hey, I need to call my dad right now, or I need to take the dog to the vet. If something comes in out of the blue like that, listen to it. That's your intuition saying, hey, you know, I'm here for you, and it's time. So that thing you call your gut instinct as well, okay?
Right.
So go with that, and the way to know is, like, if something feels scary or you get nervous or I don't feel right about this, the answer is no, don't do it. And if you're like, oh, I'm so excited, then the answer is yes, it's a positive, you should do it.
Right.
But that's a really quick way to make decisions in your life, is that if you suddenly are like, my hands are nervous, I feel really bad about this, quickly, just change your plans. Don't do it. Whether that's hopping on a plane, driving, you know. So that's a quick way to tap into your intuition and just trust that and just go with that real quick.
Wow.
Everything should always feel good and exciting and energetic and positive. And if it doesn't, then just don't do it.
Right. Is it hard to read someone when they're with you? Because you have to, like, tap in so quickly. You know, it's not just a thought that comes in. You have to sit with them and you have to, like, probably like really zone in on that person. It's about that time in our podcast where we're gonna hit pause because we have something really exciting that we want to share with you.
We wrote a book together.
That's right. It's called A Bond That Lasts Forever. And basically it's how we got this close and how you can too. It goes over all of our life's ups and downs, our struggles and obstacles, and became as close as we are today.
We share tips and quotes and actionable steps on how you can create your own ideal relationship. We even share photos on us throughout the years so you can see us on a whole different new level.
It's so true. Anyways, we loved writing this book, but we hope that you love reading it just as much, or maybe even a little bit more. Anyways, you can pick up the book at abondthatlastforever.com. You can get it at Walmart, on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble's,
or wherever you get your books.
Hey, you're stealing my line. Anyways, we hope you love reading it. Now, let's get back to the podcast.
Yeah, and I do psychic parties too, and there'll be like 30 people in like 2 hours.
God. How do you do
it's
that?
Like a job, and I'm always like, I don't know, I can't believe I'm able to do this, because it's literally like 7 minutes with somebody, off they go, and the next person comes in, and I have to wipe out everything now, and boom, I've got 7 minutes to come up with some stuff, and off they go, next person, and I guess, you know, it goes back to your career with mental, is that it's amazing what the mind can do when you can harness it and train it and things like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I generally only have between 15 and 30 minutes to fix people's lives, you know.
Wow.
And sometimes if it's all day long, you know, with 30 minutes in between, it's just like, and then, okay, here, okay, next. And, I mean, it works. I can.
So do you
harness
tune in? Do you use, when you're doing psychic, do you do tarot cards? Do you do palm readings? Do you do anything like that?
I don't know how to use tarot. I bought some for myself. I have no idea. It's just like really complicated. It's like 78 cards or something.
So
I'm
you
like,
just have the person sit in front of you and you can read things on them? Is that what
I
you
read
do?
things I pick up. Usually I have my clients send a photo ahead of time. Because if I have the time, I don't always have the time, but I will sit for a little bit and start tuning into the photo because I can read photos as well. So I can pick up things like that. And then it helps me to connect a little ahead of time. So my bedroom has a board with like everybody's picture on it.
Oh my gosh.
And I'll just start, you know, sometimes I get information. It's funny when I'm doing the mediumship for the deceased. Sometimes if they're really excited to talk to my client the next day, I'll be brushing my teeth and already I have to like stop and write down things because I'm getting information. And I'm like, your husband said this. And I was like, I said, he says you're late. He got here last night, you know. It's just, but they'll be super excited. And then other times, they're very quiet, and maybe it's because they don't really know who I am because I'm popping up there as an energy, and you know, they're like, who the heck is this up here? She's not supposed to be up there. Right. So then sometimes they're just shy, or maybe they didn't talk a lot to begin with, you know, in their life, and they're still that person.
Wow. Now, if you get a negative prediction, will you tell the person? Because I've heard mixed reviews on that, or different thoughts.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I tend to be I try to be very tactful in, you know, because sometimes I have to give the information. People want to know if they can get pregnant, you know, things like that, which is very heavy stuff for me, you know, and a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And sometimes the answer isn't the prettiest answer. And I let people know that because I pride myself in being very honest. So they're like, well, let me have it. I said, okay. I said, you know, I'm just going to tell you how it is. And you can say, screw you, I'm not going to do that. Or you can follow my, you know, instructions. But I unless it's super, super ugly stuff, I hand it how it's going to be. You know?
I think it's good. My friend one time went to a psychic and she was told something negative, and she said she actually changed her whole path by knowing that.
Right.
So she made that negativity into something positive because she went a different path knowing it. So it was helpful.
Yeah, and that's true too because, you know, a lot of people have relationship questions. Should I stay with this guy? Should I leave? And sometimes I'm like, hey, this is awesome, stay. And other times I'm like, look, this is really not going to, you know, be good for you. So you can stay, but I don't want to get a phone call at 3 a.m. that, hey, and I'll get texts because my clients all keep up, you know, I love updates. And they're like, I got one. It was like 2 years ago, and they're like, oh my God, hi. I'm like, who is this? And she's like, I saw you 3 years ago. You told me to leave this guy, but I stayed. I should have listened to you. And I'm like, well, yeah, you know, I'm glad you finally left, but, you know, it's just like, I cannot make people do what I pick up. It's ultimately your choice, you know, what you want to do. And I tell people that you have free will, but this is what I'm seeing, so plan accordingly. You know, but I mean, I predict people getting jobs, people going to colleges, people passing, you know, their nursing exam. And then I'll get that update. Oh my God, everything happened just like you said. We bought the house, we sold the house.
Nice.
And it's like, yeah, I'm not crazy. I'm just super in tune.
Are you ever like at a restaurant or walking in the street and you feel someone's energy and you have to go up to them and tell them something?
Like a Long Island medium. I tried that once at like Joann's Fabric. I'm like, let me just pretend I'm a Long Island medium. I'm just going to go up to somebody. And I was like, and they're like, no. And I was like, okay. I mean, it could have been somebody else in the store, but I just went to the woman cutting my fabric, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to try that again. But she's looking at me like I'm crazy. And,
that's so funny.
You know, so I was just like, I think I'm going to try it out. You know?
Right.
But, I mean, sometimes if people find out what I do at the grocery store, they're like, oh, is there something around me right now? Is there a ghost? Is there, I'm like, I'm trying to buy cucumbers right now. Leave me alone.
You know? So funny. Yeah, I'm sure everyone wants to be your friend.
Yeah,
and
it's like I have to be a little picky. And then my friends are like,
so
"Vee, check out this guy I'm dating. Is he good?" And I'm like, okay, friends and family, it's okay. They can, get a little thing there. But yeah, I am a little more leery. Sometimes I don't tell people what I do because I'm like, I don't feel like dealing with it today.
Right. It's so funny. My mom used to have a lot of psychic abilities, and she used to read tarot cards. And but she never wanted to do family. She just always felt she can't do family.
It is hard because what I've learned is, and that's why it's weird that I can channel my mother, but I guess because we're so close, I know what's her voice. Like the other family members, I can't. Well, I can, but normally you cannot because the information will be tainted. Like you'll already know what grandma sounds like or what she smells like or whatever. So your own information would come in and kind of ruin that. You see, versus a stranger reading you, and then they couldn't know.
So interesting. So why are some places, do you believe, like haunted maybe? Like why didn't they just get reincarnated and come back already? Like why do they remain there?
Okay.
Like you, yeah.
No, I know what you mean. So when we live a normal life and pass, like I said before, we go up and we're energy and we start over again. We're spirits. Ghosts are, they're not up there, so they're not spirits yet. They're not in our bodies anymore, so they got stuck kind of in between. So almost like, if you did a dotted outline, like if there's a picture and somebody's missing and there's just a dot, that's kind of how they become. So they're not there, they're not here, so they're stuck in between. So that's why you'll actually see them as an apparition or ghost. Like it's like a faint outline.
But why are they stuck in
why
between?
Did they get stuck?
So they have unfinished business. Let's say back in the gold mining days, somebody took a guy's thing of gold, he got shot, he still wants his gold, a thing like that. Or maybe the guy passed and his wife's still around, he wants to visit with the wife, so there's a connection. Or they love the house, so they haunt the house. A lot of the times they don't necessarily know that they've passed, so that's when you'll get things like people walking down the stairs, cupboards opening, because they're still doing what they used to.
Wow.
So it feels like you're being haunted, but really you're haunting their house. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Oh, that's so interesting.
That is something.
Wow. Oh, I love this.
It's so mind-blowing, all of it.
Yes.
It's just like at some point I had to just accept all the information I was given because I tried to dissect it when I first got it. I'm like, how is this possible? And I'm like, oh, forget it. I'm just going to accept it, and that's the way it is. And,
Yeah. That is so cool. Have you met many other psychic mediums or?
I have friends, some friends. It's funny because I once went to in LA before I left. I went to a psychic and she was completely wrong with everything. So at that point, that kind of turned me off. I'm like, okay, that's the end of that. But if my friends read me, I only have like a few trusted friends that will just maybe scan me because they remove entities because sometimes I'll pick up stuff when I go places. So they'll scan me and go, okay, you've got this little attachment. And so I have friends that just remove stuff because I don't know how, and I don't really know. I pick up things, but I guess I do.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I know. Wow. Like, I'm always like, where did that come from? Well, you must have gone somewhere and did a investigation or something. I always try to tell everything to stay there, but, sometimes maybe something comes over.
Yeah, is that like when you start to have like bad luck for a few days in a row or like something bad happens all the time? Or like sometimes you'll have a guardian angel who's watching you and protecting you from the bad, you feel like?
Or, yeah. I mean, the guardian angel is more for like protecting you, from danger and things like that, running a red light, stuff like that.
Right.
Danger. But they're instructed just to keep at your side and not intervene unless, so you can't like have a conversation and say, hey, help me out here. They only jump in if there's something, in danger like that. So, there was another part
right. Oh no, I was saying if something like sometimes you like something bad just keeps on happening. Like it's a row of bad things. I didn't know if maybe an energy was like you said, you get bad.
Like if someone has like bad luck, you call it like something that keeps happening that's not
and you're like not normally.
So that is from the universe. That is the universe sending you a lesson, and it's going to keep happening until you learn the lesson. So if something bad is happening, you more than likely attracted that energy. It's not a ghost or anything like that. It's more you attracted an energy that brought that in. Let's say you maybe had some funky, weird thoughts, and then that starts that cycle of that's what you're attracting, because like attracts like. So if you're like happy and grateful, then everything good keeps happening.
Right.
So if you're kind of starting to complain about things, then it starts going downhill. It lowers your vibration. So now you start attracting that.
So interesting. Do you do a lot of meditation to help like soothe your mind or anything, like, because you're getting all of this?
Yeah, I mean, I used to do a lot more in between clients. Like I'd spend an hour getting in the zone, and then I was like, I don't have an hour in between clients anymore. So sometimes my meditation is just a walk or a shower or a bath, because that also is just about turning off the mind, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the grounding and the meditation and the centering happens all day long in between clients.
So interesting. I love what you do.
It's like a lifestyle for me.
Yes.
You know, it is all day long.
Wonderful.
Oh, I love what you do.
So may I ask you, like, do you read anything with us or anything?
Yeah,
feeling?
so I was going to make notes, but I didn't want to interrupt. I'll just go like this here and make a... Well, it's weird because for you, Dawn, I keep going over to like Eastern European background, and I don't know how much you've looked into that. I mean, this would be like some generations back. There's some sort of, I don't want to say a gypsy, but that type of nomadic kind of thing in your background. This is just like family background. And I don't know how much you may want to start looking up that family tree and see. Also, your mother kept pointing out, she went like this to face, and I believe she had, do you have blue eyes?
No, but she did.
My mother had
Okay,
blue eyes.
because she was pointing and saying blue eyes, but I thought you did. Okay,
My mother does.
Yeah, okay, so I saw the blue eyes from your mother, because she kept going like this and saying they popped. So, but she was using your face to do it. So she was like, look at her face and pop. So, she is around. She was very much like you as well, very bubbly, very outgoing.
Yes.
Okay, you can talk.
Yes, I'm just I'm in like awe with
No,
you,
because
so I can't help
she has.
it.
I want to tell you, she has been here the whole time, keeping an eye on you. I almost feel like it's the same as my mother. My grandmother and I, we were like these three really close women. I feel like you guys had that as well.
Yes,
you guys,
very close.
Okay,
Very
so
close.
it's no accident.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
she's pointing that out. Those three strong
Right.
women.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
okay, so that's you. But your mom has been here the whole time, so I do feel that she is around. Okay. Okay, I also, real weird, sometimes I get names and it may take some tracking down before it makes sense. But I got the name Frank, and I don't know if that's a relative or anybody that they may have known. I feel this person has passed, so I'm going to put that down. You can always, what?
No, I was just listening.
Yeah, sometimes people text me later and they're like, I know who this is. It's my da-da-da-da-da-da. So, just making notes here.
I don't know.
Just making your notes for you. And then I want to go to you, but yours is not so much mediumship. I don't feel you've lost that many people except, through your mom. They're showing me, and it's weird the way that they show me things, because sometimes, again, it's like spiritual charades.
Yes.
Nobody really writes it out. They make me guess a little bit, but I'm seeing an explosion this year, not literally, of career or something changing. I don't know if you're going to school or something, but there's some sort of expansion in what you're going to be doing. Okay, it feels rather entrepreneurial, so I don't know if that's something that you've been thinking about. I just, I mean, are you still doing the mental stuff too?
Not as much. I'm a dating coach now, so I have like a business doing that.
So that's
So
what,
maybe
because
that's what it
I see you stepping away from what you're doing. It'll still be in your back pocket, as they call it.
Yeah.
But this is where that explosion is going to be happening. So I feel it's going to be successful.
Very
Okay.
cool. Good.
So, yay.
I'm always doing that.
But I feel,
Yes.
for whatever reason you're transitioning, that this was more meant to be for now. Okay.
Yes.
So this, but everything looks bright about this whole new change. I feel like
Interesting.
they're telling me this because you feel a little bit nervous about it too.
Interesting.
Going
Okay.
into the dating thing that you're going to be,
Well, I have my date coaching business already, but I just moved. It was a New York business. Now I live in Miami, so I'm trying to figure all of
there's
that
some
out.
sort of anxiety and
Yeah.
nervousness about, like, I keep hearing, is it going to work out? Is it going to be? So, yes.
Yeah, that's good.
But when they tell me things like that, it's because maybe you're nervous, maybe you don't, but when they say things like this to ease your mind, it's because somewhere deep down inside you're a little nervous. So, but it is going to work out.
Okay.
So there is, but it's definitely something brand new and different for you. So
Cool.
yeah.
Okay, great.
But it feels really bright, and
Yeah.
I will tell you that your future, regardless of what you pick, whether you want to be a vet or scrub giraffes at the zoo, it's going to be successful. Okay,
Yeah.
you just have that aura about you for success,
you.
and I feel you'll always find your way out. So that should make Mom happy.
Yes, it does.
Nothing to worry about.
Thank you.
So
Okay.
yeah. And
Very
Mom
cool.
feels like she's just, going to the psychic part of it. I feel like you're just living life and enjoying life, and there's a glow about both of you. But Mom just feels like, everything. Generally, when I read people, there's a lot of chaos in their life, and for you, I feel everything is going well. So I don't foresee any bad things coming, so that is good.
That's
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Big wood here on the table.
yes.
There. But and I will say that your mom and dad are together. Your dad feels more like a little bit of a reserved kind of quiet guy. Okay,
Yes.
so he's standing behind your mom. It's like she's like, I'll do the talkings.
Oh.
So yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, well, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yeah. Yes. And if
Okay.
you get some thoughts tomorrow,
Yeah.
Stuff in a text.
Oh yeah,
let us know.
I will like text people sometimes if I get something out of the
Oh,
blue.
please
I'm
do.
going to get your numbers.
Yes.
And I always deliver anything else that comes through.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, thank you for coming on
I
this
want to ask a
podcast.
question.
Oh, yes,
Yes.
yes. Okay, so we always ask our guests one question. It's what is the best advice that your mom maybe ever gave you, and what is something that you would give someone
To
else?
others.
Okay, let me think on that one for a second. Gosh. Well, okay, it wasn't quite advice, but apparently I was guilty of this. My mother would always say, don't jump over where the fence is lowest. And it took me a while to figure out, okay, fence, low. So what she basically means is don't take the easy route. Go over where the fence is a little higher. Challenge yourself. Okay.
Wonderful advice.
Yes.
Yeah,
I love that.
it's a little,
I really love that.
Yeah.
but don't jump over where the fence is lowest. Because
love
that's too easy. Everyone does that. So yeah, so that's and I always think about that, when I'm doing something and maybe trying to take a shortcut. I'm like, you know what, Mom, you're right. I'm going to challenge myself.
I like that. I
like
that too. Well, thank you so much for coming on our podcast. This was so much fun.
so much
Loved
fun.
it.
I guess I'm smiling. Our cheeks are going to be
I know.
sore.
Yes.
Can you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Oh, yes. Okay, so Instagram, I guess we have to do that one, is the Danish Medium, just like the pastry. That one's the easiest. The Danish Medium. And then you can always Google me. I should pop right up.
Yes.
But it's psychicmediumvalentina.com. And there you can see all the different types of readings I do. You can book them. I do have clients worldwide. They could do in-person readings, texted readings, or, of course, the good old Skype and FaceTime readings.
Amazing.
So, yeah, everyone is accessible. So.
Perfect. Well, all of her information will be in the show notes. Thank you all so much for listening to the Chattermouth podcast. We'll see you all next time. Bye.